So if we could detach our personal value and our sense of self-worth from our performance, then we would be free to fail. We would take healthy risks. We would try stuff. We would do something new, something different, something interesting. But how do we get to the point where we are willing to fail and able to fail? You know that question, what would you do if you could not fail? A better question to ask is, what would you do anyway if you had to fail? As fallen beings in a fallen world, failure is not an option. Failure is a part of normal life, and we must learn how to live with failure. One of the most important skills that every student should acquire is the ability to handle failure, because failure is part of the process in doing anything you think is worth doing. But most students avoid failure. They would rather lower their standards and adjust their goals to guarantee success than to keep their ideal standards and ideal goals and risk failure. Why are we so afraid to fail? Why do we avoid situations that could result in failure? I don't know about you, but I think it's because of the way failure makes us feel about ourselves. We tend to take failure personally. And when we take failure personally, then we are actually attaching our personal value, our sense of self-worth to the results of our performance. So if we could detach our personal value and our sense of self-worth from our performance, then we would be free to fail. We would take healthy risks. We would try stuff. We would do something new, something different, something interesting, because we wouldn't worry so much about how it turns out. If we fail, it doesn't have to mean that I am a failure. But how do we get to the point where we are willing to fail and able to fail? It is possible to simply adopt an entrepreneurial mindset or an athletic Olympian mindset and just live by the principle that failure is simply a step to success. Personally, I don't think that it's wrong to reframe failure as a part of success, because I actually believe that that is true. But what I am uncomfortable with is romanticizing failure and not seeing failure as failure. When you call failure failure, then you have to admit that you're not enough. You're not smart enough. You're not fast enough. You're not strong enough. You're not good enough. And the blessed thing about being a Christian is that you can admit all of those truths, that you are not enough, and it doesn't destroy your self-worth. As a Christian, your self-worth is not rooted in your performance, in your success, or in your failure. Your self-worth is rooted in Jesus's performance, and he succeeded. This year in my leadership mastermind classes with middle school students, I have been walking them through how to fail. And the way we are learning how to fail is by learning about our self-worth. Nothing communicates your worth more clearly than the gospel. When you understand that the life and death of Jesus Christ has everything to do with how much you are worth to God, how much you are loved by God, how much you are forgiven by Jesus, you are approved, you are accepted, you are worthy, and you are complete in Christ. That drastically frees you from having to attach your worth to your works. And isn't the work of leadership service? The work of leaders is to serve others, and the Christian leader works to serve as selflessly as possible. And the only way to serve as selflessly as possible is not to need anything from the people that we are serving, and not to need our service to feel worthy as a person. Now, admittedly, that's a pretty purist, idyllic, lofty definition of Christian leadership. And only Jesus could live up to that kind of selfless, sacrificial leadership. But it doesn't mean that he wasn't the best model of servant leadership for us. And we should, as much as possible, try to lead and serve the way that Jesus did. So back to where we started. What would you do anyway if you had to fail? Now, hopefully, you know how to fail, and that is by rooting your self-worth in Christ and not in your performance. You can detach your work from your worth. I hope this has been helpful. If it has been, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.